Good afternoon, everyone. Edward Leos here, publisher of the Hotel Guide and actually host of our Travel Talk podcast. Excited about today's episode. Got two of my favorite people in the world here based out of San Antonio. We're going to talk culinary, we're going to talk restaurants, we're going to talk food, we're going to talk travel. So without further ado, let me bring on my two guests here to the screen. There they are. I've got Susie LaFredo and also Alan Williams here with
Hey
me.
guys.
And excited to have you guys on our podcast and talking a little bit of, like you said, culinary, a little bit of travel, how everything intertwines. Everybody knows you got to love a good meal when you're going somewhere for a destination. But I know you guys launched San Antonio restaurants. But before we get to that, Susie, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you kind of came to be with regards to the travel and tourism, and let our audience know a little bit who you are.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm Susie LaFredo, and I've actually been in the marketing world most of my career. So I had my own marketing company for years and years and years, worked with a lot of different restaurants, have always loved to travel. I mean, just absolutely love to travel. Love great food, love restaurants. And so when I connected with Alan Williams, who's the founder and creator of San Antonio Restaurants, I mean, I was just absolutely thrilled. So one of our clients, one of the clients that I was working with, we actually ran into each other at one of our hangout spots, Max and Louie's. And so we kind of ran into each other there. And he came over and introduced himself, gave me his card, and I saw San Antonio Restaurants. At that time, there was probably about 45,000, I guess, people that were following San Antonio Restaurants. It was a couple of years ago. And I was so excited because I said, oh my gosh, I said, I use your group all the time. You know, I use it for myself. I use it for, my restaurant clients that I work with. It was such a fantastic group, such a fantastic community that Alan had put together. Mm-hmm. And so immediately after I got home, I messaged and said, do you want to have dinner? And so we got to dinner with he and his wife, Beverly, and my husband, Joe. We all got to dinner, went to dinner together and started talking about ways that we could really start helping local restaurants. And, it's a community of people that, again, are foodies, and they love to go out, they love to travel, they love to eat. And so we literally, together as a team, we grew San Antonio Restaurants from that 45,000 to 170,000.
Wow.
Today, in 2 years. We have a mobile app, we have a magazine, so we have a lot going on. It's just so exciting, and it's so amazing and fantastic to be able to really push the culinary scene here in San Antonio and surrounding areas as well.
Surrounding areas, definitely. You're stealing my thunder because you're answering all my questions before.
Sorry.
It's like you got a crystal ball or something. But let me bring Alan on the spot here. And Alan, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you kind of got things going. I know we got a little history of how Susie met you, but tell me a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah, sure. So I am native to San Antonio. I've lived here my entire life. And my wife, I've been married almost 40 years this year. We have only one son. And so when he got out of high school, he joined the Navy and was gone, we really started going out to eat all the time. And that's really, we've always been one to go out to eat. But once he was out of the house, we were empty nesters. We really went a lot. And so back in 2014, Facebook was really pushing to start groups. They were encouraging people. They were new.
Yep.
And so I like to go out to eat all the time. So at that time, I said, well, I'll start this group, never expecting it to be what it is now.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the largest culinary groups in the area. That's for sure. So when you started it, I know you were kind of just doing it just to start it, but how did things change over the years from where you were then to where you guys are now?
Sure. The first thing that changed was the pandemic. When that happened, I really realized the big chains, they had the money behind them to get their information out and to let people know what was happening and to survive. The small local mom and pop places were really struggling. They didn't have a way to get their word out. And so that's when we started really focusing on local and becoming all about helping the local restaurants and the mom and pop restaurants rather than the big chains.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And it was it was so awesome to see how the community came together as well, using the San Antonio Restaurant Group, even even through the winter storm that we had recently, where we so many people didn't have electricity. People used our group to say, for restaurants would say, hey, come here, we have food, we have heat, we have, we'll take care of you. Other people who were looking for resources, they were using our group for that. So it really became this community hub where the community would come together, and that was really exciting to see. And just the feedback that we got afterwards from local restaurants saying, if it hadn't have been for your group, we wouldn't be in business today. So that's really exciting.
Well, that's just truly the power of social media and the power of connectivity. Particularly when it was a pandemic, and then I know with the ice storm here in South Texas, that was a big deal. But being able to have the ability to pivot, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's gone on with us with the hotel guide, is gone from a printed piece now to a digital network, because of the fact that we're able to pivot a little bit more. I mean, the podcast we have is part of our group. Then we've got the magazine and the website too. But it goes to what you guys are talking about, and being able to kind of attack that mom and pop and be able to help them kind of go to the next level. What's a success story or two with some of the stuff that you guys have done in helping people?
Well, I can tell you, this was actually the first when Alan and I first became, we all became a team. We first became business partners. I had called a restaurant to make reservations, and I happened to mention, I was, we had just become business partners, and so I said, I'm Susie with San Antonio Restaurants. Oh my gosh! Immediately, the lady just burst into tears and told, and that was the story that she told me. She said, you don't understand what you guys did for our business. And of course, I was new to the scene in that time, at least to the San Antonio Restaurant Group. So it was just, it made me understand and realize the impact. And it was pretty amazing. But so that was huge for me. And I remember calling Alan afterwards and saying, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this story." So anyhow, but yeah, she said that they really had to turn to a drive-through. They had just opened the restaurant. They had just moved into the building and were getting ready for their grand opening when the pandemic hit, and so everything had to pivot and change. And so if it hadn't have been for the group, they wouldn't have been able to get the word out that hey, we have these specials going on. Come through the drive-through. We have contactless delivery, all that kind of stuff. And so they're thriving now, and they have their brick and mortar open. But she said that it was really our group that helped keep them in business during that time.
Nice. That's awesome. Alan, did you have a story to follow up with that one?
Well, what I was thinking is one of the reasons that we're now looking at the travel part of the story is ever since we got fairly large, people have joined our group when they're going to visit San Antonio, and they ask, where should I go? What should I do? And we try to help guide them. But because we're so large, everyone knows about other places. And so we've gotten to where people will come onto our group and say, hey, I'm going to go to Scottsdale, Arizona. Where should I eat whenever I'm there? And I guarantee you there's people there that have great recommendations of where to go. And so that's how we really started seeing that, we have information that resources that we can really help.
Yeah, the coolest one was when we hit our 150th member, and so we decided, let's do something fun. Let's do a giveaway or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so Alan went to look to see who our 150,000th member was, and it was somebody from the UK. And so he was like, oh wow. So he reached out to them. Well, it just so happened they were spending their honeymoon in San Antonio, and they joined our group so they could plan their entire trip. And so that's really cool. So we do have people from all over the world who are members, or even people in San Antonio who are just wanting to travel somewhere, or that kind of thing. So I think that it was just the natural progression to want to also include the hotels and the resorts in what we're doing.
No, definitely. I know you guys were talking, we're all in the travel industry, basically. Culinary is just a big facet of it. When I go, I'm heading out of town, and when I go out of town, food matters to me. So it's one of those things where I'll probably spend my last dollars on food versus anything else, because I'm a tourist, and I just love good food.
It drives me nuts when people travel. I say, where did you go? And they'll name a chain. Why?
Yeah.
Opportunity.
No, definitely. It's I always try and look at different spots when I go somewhere that, especially that I've never been. I try and find out maybe where the locals eats. I don't, just I don't have to be that complete foodie guy, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I remember one time I took my mom to Las Vegas for Mother's Day, and she's like, "Oh, well, let's just eat at Chipotle for lunch." I was like, "No, we're not eating there. I love Chipotle, but
Right.
I'm not going to Las Vegas and I'm going to eat there." I'm just like, "We can go anywhere else. Let's go find something that's close to,
Yeah.
what would happen in Vegas." And so,
Yeah,
um,
that's such a good point, and that's really been one of our big missions. And like Alan was saying, when all of this occurred and we realized the impact that we were having on these local restaurants, that's really been our focus, is
mhm,
to educate people. It's such an education process, helping people to understand that, hey, you know what, this is where you're going to get your scratch food. There is such a huge, I mean, the CIA is fairly new to San Antonio, the Culinary Institute, and there are so many amazing chefs that have come out of that school. It has totally changed the footprint, the culinary footprint here in San Antonio. There's so many amazing chefs, so many amazing restaurants. I mean, we have so
oh,
much
yeah.
talent here now, and the surrounding areas as well. So, to educate people that, hey, listen, you've got to go try this food, and it's not any more expensive than going to a chain.
No, it's really not. And I think, when somebody's traveling somewhere, you add food to your bucket list of places you want to go. There's so many shows, so many things out there. And, with the hotel guy, we have our culinary section as well. And so we want to showcase some of the top eateries, not only in the area, but around the United States and the globe. Because obviously that's one of my passions as well, just like it is with you two. So, it's one of those things that I think can really help get people excited about wanting to travel again. And
Yes.
Yeah.
so, yeah, so it's one of those nice things. So we've got about probably about 3 or 4 minutes here. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite places to go travel to, especially when it has food involved? Alan, why don't you go ahead?
So last year we went to Cabo, and that was my second time going. The first time I went to Cabo, we just kind of went without a lot of research. This time I researched and I knew I had our meals planned out. And I found this, like, for instance, there's a really cool place called the Sunset Mona Lisa. It's right across from the famous
Mhm.
archway on the water.
Wow.
And so it's on the hillside, and the tables are at different levels on the hillside, and you're looking right at the arch. It's beautiful. Right at sunset, different people come out with this kind of a shofar, kind of a long horn,
Hmm.
and they play music, just a note as the sun's going down. And it's kind of an ancient
Wow.
tradition to thank the sun for another beautiful day. It was so cool. Love
That
things like that.
Oh, that's incredible. That's actually a great story. I need to look that up.
Yes.
Susie, how about yourself?
So, well, first of all, there's so many staycation places in around the
Sure.
area. Of course, I love some of the spots on the Riverwalk are absolutely fantastic. But for a while there, every single year, every winter, we would travel to New York, and we would go, to Bryant Park, to all the pop-ups, and
Hmm.
all of that kind of thing. And there's so many. There's such a fusion of people there. I mean, there is here too, but there's such a fusion of people
Oh
there.
yeah.
So, we would hit so many different local restaurants when we would go. And so that was really, it was really an eating vacation because we would go, and yeah, it was fun. We'd go around and shop, but pretty much, we planned our every event around, different restaurants that we wanted to go to. So, anyway, so that's probably, as far as, a culinary style
Yeah.
trip, that's where we always would go and just, yeah, eat everywhere.
100%. I'm with you on New York. That's one of my all-time favorite cities in the world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And definitely, you know, places that eating in Chinatown to eating in Little Italy. I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever in the
It
Mhm.
world.
is. Yeah.
I love that San Antonio has that kind of eclectic view when it comes to culinary as well. So,
Yes.
as we're wrapping up here, what is the best way for people to find you guys or to connect with you guys
So
on social media or whatever?
Yeah, so we actually have a free mobile app. That's probably the easiest way. So if you go to your whatever Play Store you use and just search for San Antonio restaurants, you can download our mobile app. And on the mobile app, there's a little button in the middle called More, click there, and that leads to all of our social media outlets, because we do have several groups. We have San Antonio restaurants, we have Ask a Local, we have a San Antonio kitchen group. We have all kinds of things going on there. But that's where you can get to our podcast, you can get to our magazine, you can talk everything there in that mobile app, so that way it's kind of a one-stop resource spot.
Perfect.
That's probably the easiest way.
That's probably, you're right. That, when you can go one place and see it all, that's where you want to be. But 15 minutes goes by so darn fast. And but I want to thank you two for being on this call with us on the Travel Talk podcast.
Thanks for having us.
I know it's not going to be the last time, that's for darn sure, because we could talk food many times. So I'm excited about your future, what you're going to be doing with the brand. And I know we're going to do some unveiling with some big things later on. But in the meantime, I want to thank you for being a guest of the Travel Talk podcast. And for everybody who's out there, you can find us at thehotelguide.com and also our social media channels. But in the meantime, everybody have a blessed day. Go find a great restaurant to go eat at, and maybe you'll see us actually out there as well. In the meantime, take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.